Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters for the showcase of Mixed Scout Lucas and Torterra at 6-star EX. EX roll unlocked, 3 out of 5. So, this character, of course, premium unit to the literal intent, a literal statement, I guess. Yeah, paid gem only, cool. Is he worth it? I wouldn't say all that, but like definitely not a bad character to pick up if you're going to be doing the Mixed Scout pools, like to grab a copy or, you know, do it for all the units that are in the banner, whatever. Maybe good character for sure. Like you can definitely get solid usage out of him. He's a pretty strong field ground type, and of course he's taking the different route for the Mixed Scout characters this time, where he's actually got Ground Wish. He doesn't set it just on a max move and a sync move. He actually is able to set it with Ground Wish and on his sync move, of course, which is really, really good. He does sacrifice sync power for it, as well as not really having that great of an EX roll. He's got Sprint, which good rally combination. That's about it, honestly. Like, he really does not gain too much from the EX roll, other than obviously like stats and whatnot. But like, if we wanted stats, Strike would have been better and Tech would have been better. But simply, we got Sprint instead. It's whatever, you know, you can invest it however you want. I went ahead and invested it because Torterra is one of my favorite starters. I like Lucas a little bit. Yeah, whatever. I just did it. Not saying it's good, I just happened to do it anyway. But anyway, looking at his traits, he's got great attack, solid defensive stats with HP and those defensive stats there, and 306 speed. Not that great, but it's not really his thing. He's got the Sprint DX roll for a few different functions. Mostly he sets Gauge Acceleration onto the trainer move, which also applies attack and crit buffs, giving him good self-sufficiency, of course, but also getting Ground Zone free moves next here. Every time he lands an attack in Ground Zone, he gives himself free moves next. Very good gauge management ability for your team. Obviously, like, this can work pretty well with, like, probably the most extreme example, Arc Suit Cynthia, who has pretty good gauge management herself with a 2-gauge move, and, you know, combine that with Lucas here, who's got his own free gauge. You can afford to run them with a support that's not very gauge efficient, which whoever that may be, I mean, in this case, just it works, right? You can pretty much bring anyone you want as a support, whether they, you know, are able to buff speed or apply gauge buffs or not, because Lucas can cover that for himself extremely well. And again, that gauge acceleration for the team here. He's got Earthquake, which does solid damage by itself, but like not really decent. But he's got a passive here, which is the Unparalleled Power, which powers up Earthquake, and also lowers enemy attack by 1 rank when Earthquake is successful. That's good. This is a 90% multiplier. It's been, you know, leaked out or like calculated, whatever. Is that it's a 90% multiplier. That's a lot of extra damage. That is effectively like having, you know, Critical Strike 9 or something like that. That's a ton of power behind that Earthquake. And again, those attack debuffs can be good as well. Good offensive, you know, debuffing and enhance or like pressure, and able to help out your supportive character with their defensive buffing and just make your team take less damage. Obviously, offensive debuffs are nice. I mean, just universally. He's also got himself the buddy move, Ground Splitting Headlong Rush, which turns the field of play into not turns the field of play into Ground Zone, but it's activated in Ground Zone, and obviously deactivated when out in Ground Zone. 4 gauge, 2 uses, 440 power. That's really good, of course. It lowers enemy defenses by 4, well, just physical defense, and applies super effective next to himself. I can see good usage of this in the damage challenge, and obviously just any ground weak stage, which I do bring him against the ground weak stadium and the Lucy ultimate battle in this video, so you'll see pretty good cases for that. Obviously, it's going to be a very strong move. That's the big appeal of it. In terms of other abilities, he's able to reduce sync countdown by 1 when using Ground Wish, and also increases physical moves next by 2 when using Ground Wish as well. So that can give you some, again, good pressure for buffing the damage on his attacks after using Ground Wish. And again, you know, sync ramping and stuff. And that is stuff he's got at base. Pretty decent base kit, nothing crazy. He's got a good deal of utility, but also, for the most part, focused on dealing damage with that power up on Earthquake and the just very powerful buddy move. And the grid mostly serves to enhance his utility quite a bit. He's got himself up here, he's got Ground Zone HP Recovery, Ground Zone Extension 3, and Satisfied Snicker. Obviously, you have that mixed debuffing ability there now with that special attacking and the physical attack from the passive on his base kit. That's good offensive debuffing. That's nice. That's very good, again, for increasing team defensive ability, and also potentially deactivating gimmicks like Annabelle and Latias and Evelyn's Fluid Fortification. Very, very nice. He's got Fierce Entry 2 for maxing his attack, Sharpened Body on Earthquake for another multiplier on Earthquake to actually make it look a lot more appealing in terms of strength. And again, we'll see that in the video. Soften up 1 for easier crits on the sync move. Ground Zone sync power up by 90%. Just 90% though, sadly. Train with NPR, Sync Regen. This could be pretty helpful if you want double tick healing. I can see some very, very good usage for this guy in the Legendary Gauntlet due to his ability to heal off of gradual healing and also the Ground Zone HP recovery up here, which again, he sets Ground Zone 3 times with extension on top of the extension from the Sync move already. That's really good. Head Start 1 and Vigilance here. Vigilance allowing for crit protection without having to run it as a lucky skill if you desire that. So Lucas does carry some very solid abilities in terms of utility and damage, and I can see him being very, very good for doing damage, obviously, with any ground partners, mostly, Arcsu Cynthia as the most extreme example, which we'll see usage with her in this video, and also just great utility for any stage, like the offensive debuffs and his healing, which I think is a very good showing for any Legendary Arena players, Legendary Gauntlet players, whenever we get that game mode back, however long that's going to take. So yeah, honestly, really do like the guy's kit design. I'm honestly pretty okay with this. So without stalled way too long, I like to do these little overviews before we actually get into the gameplay. Let's go ahead and hop into the video. So first battle is a solo. Hello, Dawn. That's actually ironic. Dawn is the showcase, is the transition slide, whatever. Solo against the Champion Stadium. That's cool. Obviously, I mean, he's going to do good ground damage. I don't think many people need persuasion of that. He's going to do really, really solid. I went ahead and went for the ground zone, obviously for the ground zone, and the buddy move with the physical moves next. That's a lot of damage. That's a hell of a lot of damage. And now we've got ourselves a super effective next. I want to use it on the Arcanine because it does way too much damage. You get one shot. Very fun. And now we've got ourselves enough defensive pressure to be able to take on the remainder of these characters, which, again, we're doing really solid damage. That super effective next and physical moves next enhancement he can do to himself does help him with a lot of good burst damage in a lot of these shorter fights, like Battle Rally or the Champion Stadium. And obviously he still does have good tools to be able to handle long-term fights, which we'll see in the next two, because I did have the ultimate battle versus Lucy, just to give a better showcase of his super effective on-type damage, so you can see, really what to kind of expect if you are using this guy against, like, most ground weak stages. So yeah, of course, I mean, he's got obviously, this is not really a good showing of his debuffing ability, like, relative to how you would probably see it in, like, a Legendary Arena, because this guy, again, I do think he's got good pressure for, like, Latias, potentially a duo, if not a solo. Raikou, obviously, is able to handle for the super effective damage. I can see good stuff against, like, Tapu Bulu with the debuffing. I mean, this guy can do some pretty good stuff in those stages as well, and not just, like, soloing the Champion Stadium for fun. I just opted to not showcase it in this video. I might do something later, though. I mean, I'm out of video ideas, so we'll see. We'll see. Alright, the second battle is against Lucy. Yes, and I wanted to bring Lucas with Cynthia and Ingo. This is regular Cynthia, not Arc Suit Cynthia. I figured this one would be pretty fun. The only thing is that Ingo struggles. I don't remember what he got for a Super Awakening, but he really wants team defensive buffs to be, very useful. And I'm pretty sure, I think he's got, is it Gritty Guardian? It might be Gritty Guardian in the grid, which I think may give him a few defensive buffs whenever taking an action in sand or something like that. I don't quite remember, but I don't think it's for the team. And, well, granted, I probably should pick that up anyway. He could have really helped it, or really make some good use of it. Anyway, this is also dealing with Lucy with her multipliers, her friggin' speed buffs. I was dealing with them earlier. I tried one setup that didn't quite work, and I was using speed debuffs to, take away a lot of her damage. I didn't do that here. I actually just straight up forgot about it for the most part, but it didn't end up mattering too much as long as you are able to manage the AoE attacks pretty well enough anyway. Thankfully, Ingo's gradual healing is very nice, and also I gave Lucas his HP recovery under Ground Zone. I forget exactly everything that I picked up here. I'm pretty sure I picked up his Sync tile as well. I did obviously give special attack and attack debuff. That's actually how we're managing a lot of our survivability right now, because again, obviously, we don't have Ingo to do that defensive buffing, or really any other character to do the offensive debuffing or any sort of defensive enhancement other than potions and actually taking a hit. Where, well, now Lucas is actually taking up that role while also being one of the primary damage dealers on the team, which is obviously really, really solid. So didn't go for the ground zone because I wanted to use Lucas' Sync move here, give him that, obviously, extended ground zone, which I think I did actually pick up the 30% extension on ground zone as well, so we can do some pretty solid damage with that. No critical strike or anything like that on Lucas does hurt his damage a little bit, but really it's not too big of a deal because obviously most of the time you're going to be using Earthquake, and well, Earthquake's got that 90% multiplier and the extra 50% multiplier that picked up in the grid. It's pretty good. And obviously he's able to do a ton of damage here as well. I mean, it's looking quite impressive. obviously, you know, super effective and whatnot as well, but without all of his multipliers active, and even on a team you could say is not really, like, best suited for him. Like, you could bring in Arctic Cynthia as a better support, you could bring in, like, physical moves next enhancing support. I just opted to use this setup with a little bit more of a free move, like, not free to play player, like, attempt, but, like, kind of more of an older setup, if anything, though my Arctic Cynthia is, not Arctic Cynthia, regular Cynthia is, Super Awakening level 2, so 7 out of 5, I guess. But I did want to keep using this out because I like these characters despite them being old and outdated in basically every sense. It's okay though, no big deal. Though I was happy to get Cynthia to 5 out of 5 for that Hail Alert and Sand Kicker, that was, or Dust Kicker, whatever it is. That was pretty helpful. Either way, able to handle it pretty well. Obviously, Lucas has got very solid damage, and obviously, again, that offensive debuffing pressure is what has helped Ingo to survive for pretty much as long as he did until his potions eventually ran out. And if, you know, his potions didn't end up running out, he would have survived the entire battle without pretty much any issue, because, again, Lucas is enabling that survivability a lot better, and, of course, doing damage to boot on top of it. So that's one of the best things. Similarly to why I like Poppy so much, the New Year's Poppy, is that she's able to do offensive debuffing and defensive buffing while also doing damage with her, you know, move. All those in one action is extremely good. It's not like you're taking up multiple actions to try and do debuffing, like, for example, you know, this one doesn't matter too much, but Lucian using Growl to apply his debuffs instead of using, you know, his damaging option, even though his damaging option sucks. You kind of get what I'm saying, right? Alright, my favorite ultimate battle. I was tempted to take this similar setup with Cynthia and Lucas to Annabelle, but I just opted not to try and deal with that. I don't like Annabelle. Annabelle's not fun. Just don't enjoy that fight too much. But either way, whatever. Brought him against Palmer here. This, again, is like, obviously you're trying to focus on trying to deal as much damage as possible and as short as the time frame as possible. And obviously this would prefer, like, sprint functions, which Lucas can do, actually. Combine that with Cynthia here. I did give Lucas the Head Start 1 in his grid, combined with the propulsion on Sandstorm with Cynthia, and, well, we got ourselves -3 sync countdown, got to our sync move faster here, which was obviously helpful, and now we've got ourselves that, obviously, mega Garchomp here, mega Cynthia, lord, Cynthia, but she's like 2 times taller, and anyway. Mega Garchomp for stats, as well as obviously the ground rebuff from the multi-effect and all that, everything else that entails. And we're going to be seeing Lucas put out some pretty decent damage, though I like his better trait of being able to do a lot of debuffing at the same time. We can see Datamine here get those physical moves next from himself having that the push, pinch, whatever it's called. He gets the +3 physical moves next whenever he drops to 33% or below, and also he gets the sync countdown, which is, again, enabling Cynthia, who also has that, again, propulsion on that Sandstorm, to be able to get to her next sync move. So a little bit of cohesion here, at least between those two. And again, Lucas with his own abilities to debuff defense, and that sync countdown at the start of battle was pretty helpful too. Again, he works well under Cynthia for that extra damage that she's able to provide with her own ground zone, as well as the ground rebuff, and his just strong buddy move. Very solid, very strong buddy move. Even if it is only 2 uses, he can still make some good power come out of it for sure. And again, it works pretty well for him. And I do love the case of this fight where I can also make use of Datamine KOing himself in order to buy more turns, so that we end up getting the win here. That's the funny part to me, just seeing Datamine go down and, well, don't end up caring that much. It doesn't end up really mattering. That's the funniest thing to me. Sadly, we do end up losing the sand, but we do get the ground wish back up because of Lucas, obviously. It's, again, good ability of his setting that ground zone actually on his one of his move tiles instead of like on a max move or just on the sync move or whatever. It's obviously going to be helpful for allowing Cynthia to do a lot more damage on her sync move now that her actual sand is gone. Because yay, sand lasting like 2.5 seconds. My favorite. And also at the same time, though, we're using like 3 buddy moves in the entire battle. If I would have quad queued successfully here, wouldn't have had to take Palmer's sync move because he's literally at 1%, but it doesn't end up mattering. We get the win anyway, because also Lucas with that natural bulk, very nice. Got himself some defensive stats to handle. It doesn't really matter too much. I mean, 1 anyway, whatever. Could have quad queued 1 easier, but it's fine. So, yeah, there it is versus the Palmer Ultimate Battle. there's definitely better showing of what Lucas can do in other ultimate battles. Again, that debuffing is very nice for those fluid fortification stages. Obviously, Morgan appreciates it as well. Well, she doesn't, but you appreciate it when fighting Morgan. Annabelle, again, his cohesion with Arceus Cynthia can really turn that stage into, like, butter. It's crazy. Also, like, potentially Argenta as well, with all that fight entails. You can make some stuff against ultimate battles work, for sure. The more recent, more difficult ones, I'm sure you can too. Like, I mean, I could see him definitely doing stuff against Dana or whatever. Just maybe not without ice weakness, but it was an example for the most part. But hey, it's fine. These latest stages have been stupid anyway. Whatever, doesn't matter too much. Again, I think Mix Lucas is quite a good unit. Is he worth the pay gems? I'm not gonna really ever recommend people spend money on the game, more or less so the Mixed Scout, but if you do want to and you want to get the Big Scout unit, I mean, fair enough. He's going to provide you some pretty solid usage if you do want to pick him up again. You saw pretty much what some of his better abilities were here, and there are better examples out there, like if you want to do Legendary Gauntlet battles or just other, like, ultimate battles, Lucas can, again, perform quite well. It's obviously, again, he's got good cohesion with Arceus Cynthia, so if you have her as and obviously is one of the best options for damage dealing in the game, then you've got yourself a pretty good partner on the side here, again, in the form of this character. And again, he enhances her with that extra ground zone. That's pretty nice too. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Mixed Scout Lucas. Let me know what you think about him in the comments below. I'm happy to have a new Torterra. Yes, meta Torterra, let's go. I should have run double now that I think about it. Oh well, it's okay. I'll see you later. Hope you all enjoyed. Peace.